Sveiki and welcome back to your Irregular Latvian lesson. Today, a new two-letter prefix that will pretty much duplicate your Latvian vocabulary. We are talking about ia. Yes, I know it's written I-E, which would make you want to pronounce it like I, as in pie, or E, as in believe, but no. Ia is pronounced kind of like the English EA. Think more like Pierre's dear ear fears the spear. And then say it 5 times fast. Welcome to ia. Let's get started. Just like the prefix is that we looked at before, ia adds different nuances to verbs and nouns that it is added to. But careful! Seeing ia in the beginning of a word does not necessarily mean that it is ia the prefix. For example, in the word iela, ia is part of the root of the word, which is il, and not the prefix. The same goes with the verb iet, to walk / to go somewhere. However, ia can be added to iet, making iet, or to walk in somewhere. And this is also the first meaning that ia traditionally has. If is means out, then ia means in. Kāpt, to climb or step, becomes iekāpt, to step in or climb into your car or carriage. Or a second meaning, to step in zirgābols, or literally an horse apple, often found next to the carriages, which is a nicer Latvian way of saying horse poop. Iekāpt zirgābolā. Unpleasant, without a doubt. However, still better than to iekrist zirgābolā, or to fall into the horse's apple. For a non-movement related example, if the verb slēgt means to lock, ieslēgt means to either lock something in or to turn on something like a device. So you can either ieslēgt a lamp or ieslēgt someone in your basement. You'd use the same verb. Another meaning of ia is that it gives a sense of a sudden and short-lived action or phenomenon. An English bee will sting you, while a Latvian bee will iedzelt. So will also mean Latvian words. They will iedzelt. They will sting. But then the Latvian lightning, for example, does not strike people, but rather kicks people. Spērt means to kick, but the lightning iespēr, which means to kick somebody once. Zibens iespēr. Finally, on the matter of phenomenons, if mirdzēt means to shine, like your acis, your eyes, mirdz after a long night in Old Riga, then when something good happens, your eyes might light up, or iemirdzēties, acis iemirdzas. For example, when you iemīlēties, or when you fall in love with someone. Yes, Latvians do not fall anywhere when it comes to love, but they iemīlēties, from the verb mīlēt, which literally means inlovinate themselves into their target. Third meaning of ia is the idea of around, encircling. If robeža means a frontier or a border, then ierobežot means to either put a real fence around someone or to restrict somebody in their actions by putting like a semantic fence around them. Or if length means to follow or stalk someone, usually in the context of like wild animals or very persistent romantic pursuits, ielength means to surround someone. Ielength, you are surrounded. And speaking of warfare, if karot means to wage war, then iekarot means to conquer. You can iekarot pili, to conquer a castle, or you can also iekarot someone's heart, iekarot sirdi. But be careful to pronounce it iekarot and not iekārot, which would be with the long A. Iekārot means to lust after. Therefore, the difference between iekarot someone's heart and iekārot someone's heart is the difference between you being a crazy, nice, romantic person and somebody who is sexually attracted to internal organs. Careful with your long vowels. Another very useful word to know is ieņemt. ieņemt. From ņemt to take, ieņemt can have different meanings. You can ieņemt vietu, which means to take your place. You can also ieņemt vietu in a cafe when your friends are coming. You say, I'll be there in like 5 minutes. Ieņem man vietu. Put your jacket on my chair so that nobody takes it. Or you can also ieņemt pili, which means you conquer the castle, you take it as your own, to besiege a castle. You can also ieņemt pozīciju, which if you're in an army means to take a position physically, or if you're in an argument to take kind of a position that you'll argue for. Ieņemt pozīciju. You can also ieņemt pozu, either because you're going to be, photographed, or because you're in an argument and you are taking a pose saying, no matter what you say, I will not back down from my opinion, even if I realize that my logic is faulty. Ieņemt pozu, we call it. It's not associated with something positive. If somebody ieņemt pozu, it's not worth to argue with them because they won't listen. Then you can also ieņemt amatu, which means to take a professional post, or you can also ieņemt bērnu. Take a baby, but actually it means to become pregnant. Okay, the fourth meaning that ie can add is a completed action. So for example, if mācīties means to learn, mācīties latviešu valodu, to learn Latvian over time, then iemācīties latviešu valodu would be that you have learned it to the point where you say, I know it, I can speak it. But then it can also mean completely the opposite, a very short or barely executed action. Like if runāt is to speak, ierunāties is like when there's silence in a room and somebody just kind of starts speaking a little bit. Ierunāties is to start speaking. Actually, this word ierunāties can also be used to shut people up. Where in English you would use, look who's talking. In Latvian you can say, ierunājās. Or if you want to sound a little more dramatic, you can say, kā tad ierunājās. Yeah, right, look who's speaking. Similar vein, if ēst means to eat, iest means to barely eat anything. And iedzert, as opposed to dzert, which means to drink normally, then iedzert is to take a small sip of water. Because if you're talking about alcohol, then iedzert means whatever quantity of alcohol you consider to be light drinking. Actually, there's quite a lot of verbs that start with ie that are used to designate different types of drinking. To get them, you can add ie to actions like raut, to jerk or pull something, pļaut, to mow or reap, and to kapāt, which is to hack wood with an axe. When Latvians drink shots, they ieraut them, or they jerk or pull them into themselves. When Latvians have decided that they will drink all night, they iepļauj, which means to, drink as if they are reaping grass on a field with long, sure, and sweeping motions. But you might often hear the most serious Latvian drinkers say that they have plans to iekapāt, which means to drink as if they're chopping wood. A tough job, but needs to be done. So, to get it over with quickly, you do it with rough and heavy blows. But no matter which type of drinking verb you decide to use to iegriezt ballīti, to make it spin literally, but actually it means to get the party going, be careful when you're drinking alcohol. But if you're not, then I'll also provide you with some words that are useful in unfortunate situations. You remember from the swamp video, you can iebraukt purvā, or to drive into the swamp. Well, you can also iebraukt auzās, or to drive into the oats. And the difference between oats and swamp is that when you iebraukt auzās, it means that there's been a misunderstanding, or you've made a kind of light mistake that you can brush off as if you would brush off the oats. However, when you iebraukt purvā, then you might need everybody you know and their grandma to help get you out of that situation. Then from the verb grābt, which means to grab something, you get iegrābties. And the best way to explain it is when you metaphorically reach for something, you do something hoping for something, and then it's not what you expected, and the thing that you got is actually making you wish you never reached for it in the first place. And then you also have iebersties from the verb berst or berzet, to rub. So iebersties, or to rub yourself into something, is a more kind of serious situation. That, unlike in the case of iegrāpties, you cannot simply wash off with running water, and it will be more tricky to get out of. For example, in a pyramid scheme, if you buy product from a dealer who is in a pyramid scheme, then you iegrāpties, because it's probably shitty quality and next time you'll know better. But if you buy enough to actually start thinking about selling to your friends, then you iebersties. Now, let's see some expressions with ie. If somebody tells you that they would like to ieraut nāsīs something, or to pull something into their nostrils, they are either saying that they would like to more or less openly steal that thing, or do cocaine, or both. If somebody tells you that they would like to iedot biete to you, or to give something to your beetroot, run, because it means that they want to punch you in the face. And if somebody tells you that they would like to iedot you papurnu, then run even faster, because by saying that they would like to give something to your muzzle, they mean they want to punch you in the face, but they're not even trying to be poetic about it. If a Latvian girl or boy refuses your advances, we say that they iedot kurvi or kurvīti to you. They give you a basket or a small basket. It is a very widely accepted Latvian way to say, yeah, they rejected you. And don't confuse the word kurvis with a Polish word that sounds similar. They have nothing to do with each other. In Latvian, kurvis is a basket. Also, on the topic of rejection, if your chosen one is a bit less subtle about rejecting you, they might tell you to iet ieskrieties. Not a nice thing to hear. Skriet means to run, and ieskrieties means to gain speed as you run. So when somebody tells you to go and get some speed as you start running, they are not very politely telling you to piss off and forget it. And then when you have a disappointed Latvian that has received the kurvītis, for example, and you still feel like rubbing it in just a bit more, you can invite them to iekost ribās, or to bite the ribs. And this is part of a saying that rhymes in Latvian: ja tev gribās, iekod ribās. If you want it, go bite some ribs. Translation: lol, ha, forget it. Okay, that is it for today's lesson. Thank you for sticking around. I hope you learned more about this wonderful prefix ie and updated your vocabulary. This week's audio lessons on Patreon is one about movement, different types of ways you can walk or run or swim into a room, also using ie, and also some extra words that I left out of this video. So go check it out. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for watching. Leave in the comments the use of ie that surprised you the most, and see you soon maybe. Bye!